going into the fall, or it's not fall yet, but we're heading that direction. And we're certainly looking forward to the cooler weather. The plants are just leaping right now. It's like they know what's going on. They know the temperatures are changing. It's still been quite warm. Here in the Okanagan, I think yesterday in some areas it was 36 degrees. Oh my goodness. That was warm. And but it was only for about an hour or so right in the afternoon. So it was all right. But man, some of my vegetables are just leaping forward and annuals are just exploding into bloom. Keep on fertilizing those annuals. It's really important to keep that up, to keep those blooms just performing as they will in this time of year. You know, it's the cool nights really trigger them and get them all excited and get them growing. And this is something about those temperatures when they change once you get into September. It's just a wonderful time of year, and the plants really show it. All right, on that note, we're going to go straight to the tips and plants of the week. Alrighty, now my plant or my tip of the week is that this is the time when you set your Christmas cactuses outside, at least in a climate where you're not going to be expecting any frost. But you can set them outside in a shady location and just leave them outside for a few weeks. 2 to 3 weeks generally does it. And it just sets them up. It gives them this warm day and then a cool night. And it triggers them to set buds and get ready to bloom within the next month or so. So if you want your Christmas cactuses to reliably bloom, that's what I do every year. I just put mine out just actually last weekend. It's generally that first week of September. If they're not outside already, get them outside, shady spots so they don't get sunburn, and grow them out for 2 to 3 weeks. Bring them in and just continue on the regular process, and you'll see they will burst into bud and bloom in no time. Alrighty, now my plant of the week this week is the Brugmansia, which is one of my favorite tropical outdoor patio plants. And the Brugmansia group, they're also known as angel trumpets, and they have these massive trumpets that hang straight down. And, you know, this plant is quite spectacular, and they get to be quite large, but they are just a lovely thing. In the evening, the fragrance kicks on just like a light switch. It's right at 7 p.m. You can pretty much set your watch to it. 7 p.m., those flowers just crank out the fragrance. It's just unbelievable. And you got to stick your face in there. It's just a wonderful thing. So there you go. Well, I love the Brugmansias, and this is the time of year when they really seem to perform. So there you go. That's my tips and plants for this week. Remember to check growercoach.com and Grower Coach on YouTube. Alrighty, so away we go. Another show, and gardening season is here. And so we're going to be talking gardening throughout the show. And if you have any input at all, or even just a report on how your garden's doing, you know, how are the veggies doing, or how are the perennials doing, or the trees, fruit trees, that sort of thing. We're going to be talking a lot about pruning in the coming weeks. It is we're getting into a type of pruning season, but we'll be talking a lot about gardening right through the winter months, which a lot of people are not aware that we just keep on keeping on right through the winter every Saturday morning. Alrighty, so we're going to go straight to the phone lines. We have Ariel on the line. Good morning, Ariel.
Oh, good morning, Ken. What a delight it is to hear you and talk to you.
Thank you.
I just thought, you know, I'm kind of, I made up my mind. Fall is the best time of the year. The heat just kills me.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's you know what it is? It's this whole feeling of fullness in the garden that you've done all this work, and look at this, you've got your bounty.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I think fall is about, is just enjoying the pleasure of it.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that.
and the delphiniums came up again to bloom. It was really kind of nice. They bloomed twice, you know.
Yeah.
I have a question, because we had mulch put all along our gardens, all along the garden and everything. Good couple of inches he put out there, and the damn squirrels. Oh, I'm telling you, they are digging and digging and digging it up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. What do you do? What do you do?
Yeah, they're probably starting to stash stuff, and so there's two reasons why they'd be digging. Is generally they're either to dig up either something to eat, which might have been something they've stashed previously, or you never know, maybe grubs or something that they like to eat. They seem to be more and more omnivores, so eating all kinds of things. But, one thing they do at this time of year is they're starting to store things for next year. And so that's where they'll run around the neighborhood. They'll find hazelnuts and they'll find walnuts, and they'll go around and they'll dig and they'll bury these nuts in the ground, so they'll have something to eat over the winter or even early next year. But a couple things happen there. Sometimes the other squirrels are all watching, and they have this habit of actually faking the burial of a nut. So they pretend they have a nut, and they go over and they pretend that they're burying it, and then they'll leave it kind of the ground scuffed up a little bit so it looks like something was buried there. And that's so that the other squirrels will go and check out that spot, and it'll detract them from going to where the real nut is buried. And
yes, and then you end up, sweetheart, with 1,000,000 holes all over your yard.
That's right, yeah. And then all the other squirrels are doing the same thing. So it's like, it's the crazy world of squirrels.
Well, I had somebody say to me, "Why don't you put out a trap and then take them out into the middle of nowhere and say, here, go again, start, do your thing." It's like, golly, we've got the red ones,
Oh, okay. Nice.
They started up here a couple of years ago, and they haven't disappeared. However, there's a few gray ones that have moved in, and I don't know whether they're interbreeding or not. But
yeah, probably not. I think those gray squirrels, they're really quite invasive, and they're quite a different. They're obviously a squirrel, but they're quite a different species for sure.
Rats with bushy tails.
That's about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wish there was something I could do to stop them.
Yeah. Well, there probably is. You might have to contact some sort of a pest control company or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right. Thank you very much.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Ariel.
Right.
Thanks for calling.
Okay.
All
okay.
right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, the squirrels, they drive you nuts. Literally. There you go. All right. Well, that's one of the reasons why you sometimes have walnut trees growing out of the junipers, or hazelnut trees shooting up all around the yard. You don't even have a walnut or a hazelnut tree, but they love them. The squirrels just want to stash some food for next year, and that's the way it goes. And they're a little bit of a pesky little rodent, that's for sure. So anyway, it's going to be a good show today. We're going to talk a little bit about the Abkhazia Gardens, which is having their big plant sale that's coming tomorrow. And so we want to make sure, if people are on the mainland and they want to maybe do a day trip over to Victoria, or I'm not sure if that's the feasibility and all that, but hey, some people, they do make those trips quite regularly, and they know where to go. But if you're in the Victoria area, you'll definitely want to participate in this one. This is at 1964 Fairfield Road in Victoria, and it's a lovely garden, the Abkhazia Gardens. It's a beautiful heritage site, and it's just a lovely spot. And they're having their plant sale tomorrow, and it's one of their main one of their main fundraisers, so you want to get out and support that. And yeah, enjoy it. And they're also celebrating Grandparents' Day, so bring your family along, bring the grandkids, and enjoy the day in the garden. It's a lovely spot. So there you go. All right. So on that note, we will be taking a short break here, first break of the show. And today we're going to talk about a bunch of different topics. The fall gardening obviously is one of the main ones. We'll likely talk a little bit more about the Christmas cactuses and getting those blooming. And also we'll talk a little bit about poinsettias. This is the time, if you have poinsettias, you have to start lengthening the nights by putting them in somewhere dark during the night and pulling them out in the daytime. So there's quite a few people participate in that. And generally about somewhere around the middle of September is when you get started with that. And once you kick them in and they start to get that little bit of red discoloration on the bracts on the top of the plant, then you don't have to do it anymore. So it generally takes about 4 weeks of relatively consistent putting the plant in the closet at night and pulling it out in the morning. And it's a relatively easy process, but if you want to get the color, you're probably going to have to do that. You have to keep the artificial light away. But other topics we'll talk about today, we're going to talk a little bit about onions. We're going to talk a little bit about protecting your trees from deer. We're going to talk a little bit about weevils today, and also, again, a little bit more about the Abkhaz gardens. So stay tuned. There's lots to talk about. And again, we invite your calls, any gardening questions at all, or even just observations. What's going on with my fruit trees? It was a year where it was a bit strange for a lot of fruit growers, that's for sure. And we'll hopefully have a much more mild winter this winter, and something that the fruit trees can survive without too many issues. Alrighty, well, what we're going to do now is we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with more of the Garden Show after these short messages. Alrighty, we are back with you, and it is, again, a beautiful gardening day. It's going to be great. These Saturdays, they're just fabulous. You start out with the garden show in the morning, you get all excited and learn some stuff and get out there and get some gardening done. It's just, it's to me, is the best time of the week. Is either, always my Saturdays and Sundays. I can spend as much time as I possibly can in the garden. You don't have to put up with the pesky birds that are, tweeting around me and the bumblebees flying around. To me, that's where it's at. I love hanging out with the bees. All right, it looks like we have Ariel back on the line. And good morning, Ariel. You forgot to ask something.
I did. When you mentioned Christmas cactuses, we bring out all of our plants, indoor plants, the tropicals, put them out. I put them out underneath the shade in the trees, and they get a little bit of sun and all that, including the Christmas cactuses. Well, guess what? I had one that was practically eaten down to the nub by the squirrels, and I sprayed the things with that critter stuff to stop it. That kind of deterred them a bit, but they definitely hacked out a lot of the Christmas. There's a few people in here in the building that have got Christmas cactuses, but they're coming back now because I brought them all back inside. But do I dare risk putting them outside again?
Well, that's a risk you got to take. It's either that, I guess. I try to think of, alternate methods. Like if you had a spot, I don't know if there's many spots that a squirrel can't get at, unless you put it in a cage or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
But even the squirrels are so smart. They know what to do. But if I had smaller plants, I would consider literally setting them in the refrigerator at night. Just for, like I say, a week or two, bring them out in the day, put them back in the night. And it's these cooling temperatures at night that really trigger them to set buds. So that's all you're trying to do is give them some cool evenings. Everybody's going to have their issues, whether it's going to be rats or if it's going to be, squirrels or whatever animals, but I would just say I really like to get them cooling down. I used to just set them, like I'd grow some small ones like in 4-inch pots, and I could just set them right on my windowsill, and then you'd get this cool air at night that comes off the window. And that was enough to trigger them. So it's really just cooling them down.
Okay, well, I'll try that. The other one that was chewed down to the nubs has definitely come back. They're vigorous growers, right?
Yeah, and just remember this, as when you do get that burst of growth at this time of year, or in the fall, you bring it in, it's been chewed, all of a sudden it grows back. It's beautiful and healthy, but it needs those mature leaves on the tips to produce flowers. And so that often means it's not going to bloom now, but it may bloom by the time you get into January or February. So.
Well, that's good. I also have the problems with the squirrels eating the tomatoes. Oh,
gee, they're eating tomatoes? What the heck?
They are. I'm telling you, they take great big chunks, and I sprayed them with stuff, and then when after that wears off, they come back again and start chewing on them.
Well, That's a tough one. Need to grow everything inside of a cage these days. That's what it seems like. If it's not the deer, the squirrels, the marmots, the rats. Geez.
It's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Okay, thanks, Ariel. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All righty, we'll go back to the phone lines, and we have Vicky on the line. Good morning, Vicky.
I love your show.
Oh, thank you.
I sent you a picture of what I call a hummingbird moth.
Oh, yes.
And is that such a thing? It's like a moth. We thought it was a baby hummingbird going to the honeysuckle, but when we could get right up close to it, and it's a moth, and it has a little proboscis that sticks into the honeysuckle and gets out what it's going to get.
Yeah.
Have you seen one? I've never seen one before. I didn't know they existed.
Because they're nocturnal, you don't see them quite as much. So you see them because we're not nocturnal typically. So we'll catch them in the evenings and catch them in the mornings, and occasionally you'll see them fly around in the daytime. It all depends.
Midday when I took those pictures.
Yeah. And that's a sort of a random thing, but you'll find that those evenings and early mornings are when you're gonna catch those guys more readily, and that's why we don't really see them all that often because they're nocturnal. So, but I definitely have seen a few this year already, and I've seen them really for years. I think they're just beautiful. They're a large moth, but they're slightly smaller than a hummingbird.
Yeah.
But they are just like that. They hover right in front of the flower, and out comes this big long proboscis, and it goes out, and they drink the sap or drink the nectar. And it's a beautiful sight. They're a lovely thing.
They're not afraid of you. You can get right up close.
Yeah.
Like I could have touched it. When I took the picture, I was right close to it.
Oh,
maybe only
fabulous.
a foot and a half away.
Well, I'll definitely have a look at the pictures. Unfortunately, I just haven't been able to get to my email in the last probably couple days here. So I really appreciate whenever people do send me things, just either out of interest or asking questions about them. And it's always
I've never seen them before. That's my first sighting. They may have been around the honeysuckle before, and I never noticed it. But this time, both my husband and I noticed it. We were both taking pictures.
And that's what happens is you end up, you think, gee, it's a hummingbird. And then you look again and you go, it's sort of a hummingbird. And then you look really close and you go, that's not a hummingbird. But it's a hummingbird moth. That's what it is. Yeah.
And that's what it's called, is it?
That's what they're called.
Hummingbird moth?
Yeah.
Oh, I just called it that, but I didn't know it had an official name.
Yeah, perfect. There you go.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Vicki. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. Yes, that's part of nature. It's a lovely thing to see. And the hummingbirds too. I've done a couple videos on attracting hummingbirds to the garden. And the one plant I always fall back on as sort of the main plant that you would use for attracting a lot of these pollinators, but either the hummingbird moth or the hummingbirds themselves is the blue salvia. It's an annual salvia. The one we have, I think, is called Rockin' Blue, and there's a bunch of different names, but they all have blue in the name, and they're kind of a tall, sort of sprawling annual, and then on the tips they get these like black-looking flowers with deep, beautiful blue flowers coming out of them. It's more like a calyx, I think they call it, where the receptacle where the flower comes out of. And every morning and early in the morning I go outside, and it's at this time of year it's kind of chilly for sure, but you go outside early and the hummingbirds just scatter. They're already on those salvias early in the morning. They love the little trumpet flowers, and it's got to be their favorite because those plants every day have the hummingbirds on them. So there you go. That's always fun to have a few of these hummingbirds around. They're just a lovely thing, and I always have a place I can sit to observe the little guys and girls as they come through. All right, so the other thing, I just wanted to talk a little bit about onions today because, I have often talked about how with some types of onions, and most of the major types like Walla Wallas and Elsa Craigs and some of the different varieties anyway, even Kelsey's. They can be seeded in the summertime and then grown over winter in the ground, and then in the springtime you can pull them out and put them in nice neat rows, all the ones that come through, and it gives you this real head start each year in the garden, and I've had really great success with them, especially the Walla Walla onions. They were just fabulous. But this year, what my biggest pet peeve is I find it's difficult to just go buy onion seed in the summertime, because the trick with onion seed is it's got to be fresh. If it's not fresh, it just doesn't germinate. So I had 2 packages of onion seeds that were left from the spring, and they did okay. They came up pretty good in the spring. But I thought, well, I'm going to use those up now. It's, beginning of August. And so actually my wife Wendy went out and she seeded them in this one spot, and we got, out of the 2 packages, we got 1 onion seed grow, and I was just like, it's so deflating. So onion seed, even just from last year, it's only good in the spring, and after that, those leftover onion seeds, they just don't survive. So in sort of the last minute, I was over visiting your friend of mine, Don Burnett, and he had these onions that were left from last year, and they had these big seed heads on top of them. And I thought, I'm going to steal some of those. So I stole some of those, obviously with his permission. And we took about 5 of these heads, flower heads. You could see they were fat, but they were still quite green. And I took those home, and I just set them out to dry for about 2 or 3 weeks. And then right around that last week of August, I just thought, well, they look dry, and I could see them starting to open, and sure enough, inside were the little black seeds. So I just took them all out, and I just crushed those up, and I scattered the seeds all over this area where we'd tried the first time. And sure enough, within 1 week, they were just up like hair on a dog's back. They're just green and shooting up and looking great. So, again, that's the secret, really, to getting onions to grow, is getting that fresh seed. So I also saved some of the seed for spring. So that is just in case, you never know if none of those little seedlings survive till spring, because it's a little late. I wouldn't, like, if I was in the Victoria area, I would definitely do them right now. And if I had some seeds, some onions that have gone to seed, just take those seeds and spread them over an area, scratch them in a little bit, start watering, and stand back. They'll be up and growing in no time. And get those plants to overwinter. They give you a really early start next year. And those were always our biggest onions, were all the ones that we overwintered ourselves right in the ground. So there you go. Another great tip on onions. I do have several videos on onions as well, including this process. So if you want to check it out, Grower Coach on YouTube. And I always put out videos every week, and even some other garden show stuff that comes on as well. So if you like to listen to me chattering on, you can definitely do that as well on YouTube. All right, so we're going to take a short break here. We will invite your calls, as we always do, local calls at 250-862-2525, or if you're calling from anywhere out there on the internet or the coastal regions or Victoria, 1-888-780-4273. And we'll be back right after these messages with more of The Garden Show. Alrighty, we're back with you, and we've got a well-known caller on the line. We have Dan Bruce calling in this morning. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Doing fine.
Fabulous.
I have to retract a statement that I made the other day.
Oh.
About deer and hydrangeas. Obviously, one of them was lurking outside the back door when I was on the phone and heard that they didn't like Hydrangea quercifolia.
Oh, yes, right.
Being eaten to the nubs.
No, not quercifolia.
Yeah, it was done the same night, that very night. So they've got a phone tap, I guess.
Oh, my. Yeah, anyway. They must have been listening to the show or something, and they said, I don't know, maybe we just haven't tried it recently.
Yeah. Anyway, it's been severely pruned. It'll probably be back. So I'm off today prepping for the Society for Learning in Retirement here in Kelowna.
Oh, nice.
They are doing their fall series of sessions, and I'm doing 3 of them. And one of the sessions is on the birds of paradise.
Oh, nice. Strelitzia.
Now, I am actually lecturing on the birds.
Oh, the actual bird.
The actual birds, yes.
Nice.
But that does, of course, raise the name of the plant in a lot of people's minds. Strelitzia is a close relative of the banana, native of South Africa. There are 5 different species, and the commonest seen one is Strelitzia reginae, which has a sort of an orangey, reddish-orange flower. And it's a doable houseplant. When I say doable, it's a reasonable size. Strelitzia nicolai is a giant.
Okay.
Can get to about 30 feet if it's got the space.
Wow. That's pretty impressive.
Anyway, yes, it's quite an impressive thing. But interestingly, the name Strelitzia is in honor of Sophia Charlotte Mecklenburg-Strelitz, who was the Queen of England.
What?
The wife of George III.
Wow.
And she was into many things in a unobtrusive sort of way. But gardening was certainly a big part of her life. And a lot of the developments at Kew Gardens were due to her. One thing that's perhaps not so well known about her is that she is the one who introduced the idea of Christmas trees.
Really?
Yes.
That's cool.
She had it was a custom apparently to bring in a branch of some conifer or other evergreen and decorate it at Christmas time. And she went another step forward and got the whole tree involved. Brought them indoors, and they were decorated with small wrapped sweets, little cakes, candy things, ornaments of various kinds, and little gifts. And what's a little bit spooky is that the decorations included lit candles.
Yeah, so she started that whole thing?
Yeah.
Wow. And the lit candle thing, I know, it's a little bit controversial, but it was done for years and years and years.
Well, yes, and of course the thing was supervised, and but it's not something I would recommend you fool around with.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. They're so flammable. That's the thing. It's like, playing with fire, that's for sure. And when they invented the Christmas tree light, it was a lot less places burned down, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, indeed. But, yes, we owe that to Queen Charlotte.
Fabulous. Well, there you go. Dan, do you mind if I just change the topic for a second?
You're going to, whether I mind it or not.
That's right, yeah. Hey, you know what? We have had a couple people calling in asking about, is there a way to keep wasps away from the hummingbird feeders? Probably difficult at this time of year. I think the wasps are super hungry.
Yes, it's not an easy thing to do. I have had less problem this year with wasps than I have in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But getting rid of a wasp nest that was on the veranda certainly helped.
Right.
But I have been known to spray the wasps with Raid.
Mm. Try to keep their populations down.
Yes. Raid does not bother the birds.
Mm.
It doesn't affect them.
Right. But it sounds like that does make sense, is to try to find nests that are nearby or where they're coming from, and try to eliminate those nearby nests.
Well, I mean, we lived in this house now for 40 years,
mm-hmm.
and there have been wasp nests and hornet nests around pretty much all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say that I was stung once, but not anywhere near the house. It was way out down the bottom end of the property.
Oh, yeah.
But nobody's ever been stung right on the veranda.
Yeah.
Not once.
And I remember you took the flowers off because you had the little red feeders that had the actual little like artificial flower there, and then you decided it's a better idea to remove those flowers?
Well, the flatter the surface, the better. Where the actual hole is for the hummingbird to get the syrup.
Right.
A lot of these feeders have elaborate plastic flowers,
mm-hmm.
which are, in my opinion anyway, ugly.
Okay.
They're certainly unnecessary,
mm-hmm.
and I think the birds don't like them because it means that they have to insert their head into that flower to get to the syrup.
Right, which makes them uneasy, I'm sure.
Well, it means that they're sticking their head. It's like putting your head in a bucket.
Yeah.
You can't see while you're doing it, and the hummingbirds are, 1,000% aware of what's around them,
mm-hmm.
and they don't like to have their head enclosed.
Mm-hmm.
So I just take those off.
Yeah. And
or don't. I mean, people ask me what hummingbird feeder should they get, and I say, well, don't get those. Or if you do, just take the nippers and get rid of the flower.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Well, I noticed that was quite a few years ago, and you do get your share of hummingbirds. That's for sure.
Yes. Yeah, they're certainly around. There's even a few right now, and I don't remember them being this late.
Yeah, and you used to measure the amount of sugar that you used every year on hummingbirds, that was one way of sort of tracking how many hummingbirds that you had.
Well, yeah, counting the birds was quite impossible. I mean, herding cats is simple compared to that.
Yeah.
But my father, when he was alive, he used to keep careful measurements of the amount of sugar used each year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I just
you have a rough idea.
Make it. When the feeders are down, I fill them up again and get going the rest of the day type of thing. But looking at Dad's record, one year we used 99 kilos of sugar.
That's amazing.
And it hasn't been that high ever since.
No.
But I would say in the 30 to 40 kilo range.
Wow. That's still pretty amazing. And all without a flower on the end of the feeder.
No, they just got the little hole. There's a little yellow daisy-like thing that's sort of flat on the surface.
Right.
With the hole.
That's all they need.
In the center of that, and
they're good to go.
they're good to go, because some people refer to the hummingbirds sucking the nectar up. Well, they don't. They lap it.
Yeah.
So the tongue goes in and out very, very rapidly, and that's how they get the syrup.
Well, there you go. It's
pigeons and doves are the only birds that can actually suck.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
More information we had no idea about. That's awesome. Thanks,
some
Dan.
Some of this information isn't exactly useful, but anyway.
Well, that's great, Dan. Well, we have to take our break now, but I really appreciate you calling in. Another fascinating couple of topics today, and so that was great. Thanks for coming on.
We will be back.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
Right.
Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All righty, there you go. Dan Bruce calling in to give us some more fabulous information. We have to take a short break here, and I really appreciate everybody for hanging on that are on the lines there. And so we will get back to the phone lines right after these messages with more of The Garden Show. Welcome back. And back into the garden we go. And we have Graham on the line. Good morning, Graham. Thanks for holding.
Hi, Ken. Thanks for taking my call this morning. I'm calling you from the Saanich Peninsula out on the coast. And, well, not why I'm calling to ask you a question for, but I thought I'd throw this one out there. I've been through that fight trying to keep the wasps away from the hummingbird feeder. And I'd say I've probably been through 4 or 5 different types of feeders. I finally found one just at a local home hardware, Bird Health Plus. Now, they can't get at those ones, and they leave them alone. As long as you make sure you don't spill any nectar on the outside, that'll pave the way for all the little hummingbirds.
So that one's called Bird Health Plus?
That's right, yeah.
Nice. Well, that sounds great. That sounds like that should be the one that we go to.
Oh, right. But why I'm calling is probably a call you get on the regular. Weeds.
Yes.
So my mother, she was a wonderful gardener, bless her soul. But since she passed, you know, the yard and the garden, it breaks my heart to see all the weeds. And I mean, I'm an essential shift worker, and I just don't have the time to get out there. So my thought was to get and plant some creeping ground cover that'd just choke out weeds in some of the beds and take down the maintenance work out there. So far, my ideas are creeping phlox and thyme, and I was just hoping you might have some other suggestions for me.
Yeah, well, Pachysandra, as they call that, the Japanese spurge, is one that can be used as well. And it's really good in your region. There's some types. There's one that's a deep emerald green color that's nice. I think it's called emerald Japanese spurge. But this whole issue of weeding is an issue because it's one of these things that, as long as you stay on top of it, there isn't that much to do. So what I would recommend that you do is, sure, you can utilize some of these ground covers, and that can be useful. Weeds will still grow up through the ground covers, and generally those ones will be a little bit tougher in some ways, but like grass and you know, who knows what else will come through the ground covers. But you know, it's one of these things where sometimes if you get behind in your weeding and you need to catch up, it's one of these things where, you know, hiring somebody to come in and do a complete, thorough weeding and get yourself caught up so that you're back to having a clean, tidy garden. And I know it's an investment. It's expensive to hire a gardener, even just for one day or whatever it takes. If your garden's bigger, it can be 2 full days of work. It can be very expensive. But once you get caught up, then you can look at the possibility of remulching, where you're adding in a fresh layer of mulch, which helps to suppress the weeds. And then once you're starting with a blank slate, it's way easier to stay up on the weeding. And then what you do is you dedicate 1 day a week where you have an hour or two, and you just do a quick scan every week, whether it's whatever day you have, it's a day off or something where you feel like you can get out into the garden, and you just do that quick scan through, and you just never miss it. You put it, like I put it right into my phone, so my phone reminds me. It goes, oh, time, it's a weed time, time to get out there and do some weeding. And you just go through real quick and get rid of them all. And it's just an amazing thing that when you stay on top of it, there's not nearly as much of an issue. It's when it gets left and then the weeds are just free to seed around. You get lots of seed populations. The seeds are building up in the soil. So they're just going to come back. And that's why you have to put that layer of mulch on the surface. And that can be like a composted bark mulch is a really nice option. I'm not sure what you have available maybe through your municipality there, but whatever there is available that's an inexpensive surface mulch, putting it in at about 2.5 inches thick between the plants and not necessarily against the plants. So it's like you just fill in all the gaps. So instead of, say, growing ground covery plants, you just fill in with this mulch and you pack it with the head of the rake. And you do this really nice even application and kind of leaving a little opening with no mulch right at the base of each plant. Now, I do realize there's plants like irises and different types of plants that will spread quite a bit, and they're kind of hard to work with because the weeds will shoot up inside of them, and that will always be sort of an ongoing thing. The plants don't really like being buried in mulch, but if you get a plant that's really badly infested with weeds, sometimes it's best just to dig it right out and get rid of it. In the fall is a good time to do that. And you dig it out, and maybe you can find just a small chunk of the root of the original plant that has no weeds or no roots in it, and you kind of clean it and wash it with a hose, and then put it back into its new spot, and then put that fresh mulch around it. And really, it's one of these things that when you do start fresh like that, it's just like a new world. It is not as daunting. When it gets like, I know exactly what you're talking about. That's sort of what my garden is like right now. So I'm in the same boat. I've been so busy at the end of this season. I just haven't found the time to get out. But now I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it myself as much as I can, is get out there and just weed. And then I always keep my ears and eyes open for a gardening company or even just an individual who's available to come in from time to time and help you weed. And if you can do a real good push, and then especially in the fall, even do some divisions of some of the plants or dig out ones that are really weedy, get right inside of them and pull out all the weeds so that, because it's these weeds keep coming back again and again by seed. And it's just a frustrating situation, but way easier to deal with if you start with a clean slate. So that's my suggestion.
Well, that's great. I really appreciate your advice, and sounds like an easy investment for me to just help honor my mother's memory.
Absolutely. And the garden is so valuable. Like if you only had an hour a week to go out and sit in that garden and enjoy the hummingbirds and the bees and whatnot, that 1 hour, and that's literally sometimes what I get. I get 1 to 2 hours on Sunday mornings, early in the morning, to go out and sit in my garden. And I've got quite a massive garden, but I'll tell you, that's what I live for, is for those 2 hours of sitting out there and just enjoying it.
Oh, all right, great. Well,
right.
Thanks for taking my call this morning.
All right, thanks, Graham. Appreciate the call.
Bye now.
All right, bye-bye. Yeah, it is it's one of those frustrating things that happens, and so we want to be definitely cognizant of that. And if you have to, reach out for help, because it is out there. You just have to search a bit to find the right person and the right cost, that fits your budget. Alrighty, so we're coming up to the 9 o'clock news here, where we always take a little bit of a longer break, just for a couple of minutes. A good time to go and grab a coffee and to, just maybe write down a couple of questions that you might have and give us a call. So remember those numbers. You should have them on your refrigerator, on your quick dial. That's it. Put it on the speed dial. 250-862-2525 for local calls, and 1-888-780-4273 for toll-free long-distance calls. And remember that you can call in from anywhere. Remember, you can listen on the internet as well. That's one thing we do. Our show runs year-round, and sometimes, if it's not always on your local radio, you can definitely pick it up on the internet, iHeartRadio, and look up The Garden Show from Kelowna, BC, and you will find it. It's right there, and you can log in and enjoy that. Alrighty, so what we're going to do now is we are going to take a short break, and we do invite your calls, and we'll be talking more about all types of assorted gardening, and particularly after this break, I'm going to touch a little bit on the vegetable garden, and also on weevils is one of my topics. Right now we're seeing a lot of serrated edges on the tips and edges of leaves around the garden. Mine on my peonies. Not a good thing. It's the weevils. And the weevils, I'll talk about that and how to control them. And remember that it's not the adults that notch the leaves that's a bad thing. It's the larvae that eat the roots that are a bad thing. And so that's what we have to target. So that's what we're going to talk about right after these messages with more of The Garden Show. Welcome back to the second half of our show here today. And as I mentioned before the break, I wanted to talk just a little bit about weevils. Weevils wobble, but they don't fall down. But no, weevils are a little black beetle that has a bit of a snout. And these guys have this tendency of crawling on plants like rhododendrons, hydrangeas. They like a lot of the conifer groups, some of the spruces. They really love yew trees. Yews are one of their favorites. Common name is black vine weevil. That's a common name. But they do get on peonies as well. My peonies are literally shredded right now, so I got to get out and do some treatment on that. I'm going to have to do a video on that and show you what we need to do. But there's a couple products out there that are safe to use that are quite effective. One thing about weevils is the adult beetle is literally almost impossible to control. The only way you can really kill it, I think, is by stepping on it, and they're very crunchy. But they're a black beetle, again, with a long snout, and they're about a half an inch long, or sometimes even a little smaller than that. But they are a very interesting little critter. But what they do is they lay eggs generally around the end of August, and they lay eggs around the base of the plant, and then those eggs hatch, and you get these grubs that come out. And the grubs will burrow into the roots of the plant, and they'll eat those roots. They'll live on the root system right through the wintertime eating. And, of course, if you have a couple hundred of these little guys, when they're very tiny, it doesn't do much damage. But once they get to be, the grubs themselves can get almost a half an inch long. And a little white grub with a brown head, and when you disturb them, they curl up into a little ball, like they curl up. But these guys eat roots, and they're eating my peony roots now, and so I gotta get these things in control, or else the plant will not be good. So I'm going to be getting some products. There's two products that are available, at least locally here. There is the Grub Buster, which is one of the products, and then Grub Be Gone. So both of these things are quite effective in controlling the grubs. Now, one of the products, and I'll have to review this to see which is which, but one of the products is more like a BT product. So it's a bacterium, and you sprinkle it around the area and wash it into the soil, and the little grubs will eat that, and it'll kill the grubs out 100% every time. And so that works really well. Also, the other product is the nematode, which is a living little microscopic organism that actually eats the grubs. And that one is quite effective as long as the soil is warm. If the soil gets too cold, it doesn't work quite as good. So, but both of these products can be applied in the fall or applied in the spring. Write it down and watch for a video. I got to do a video on that one because that's a very common problem that we do see. All right, we're going to get back to the phone lines, and we have Lee from Kelowna on line 1.
Good morning.
Morning, Lee. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good. I have a 4-foot-high hibiscus, plant, I guess you could call it. It's not a tree because you can't leave it outside.
Okay.
And it's one of the ones that are weaved. The trunk is weaved, and it's got 3 colors.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beauty. Now, my question is, he's gotten so big, I don't think I can get him through the door for the winter. So I'm wondering, is it possible for me to put him in the garage, which is not heated, and wrap a heating blanket around the roots, but not the top? Would that, like last year, it was -17 one time.
Yeah.
So hopefully we wouldn't have such a crude winter, and I could do that. Now, would that work? Yes or no?
Well, my concern with that is that whenever it does get cold, that's often when the power goes out.
Right.
And then you do all this work and everything, and it just doesn't work. That would kill it. But also, they need to have light because they will be deciduous and lose their leaves, but they prefer to be sort of semi-deciduous, where they'll always keep some leaves going.
Yeah.
So they're better as a houseplant indoors. So what you do is enjoy them as long as you can outside, and then before you bring them in, just go out and trim the whole thing back to a small ball. To a ball that'll fit through your doorway. So use that as a guideline, do a measurement, and then just trim it just literally into a ball, and then get rid of all the debris and everything. Check it over for insects and that sort of thing. And then when you're ready, then sometimes some people even just give them a spray of like some insecticidal soap or something just to make sure they get some of the bugs. Yeah. And while the temperatures are still reasonable. And then remember that when you move in tropical plants from outside to inside, you want to move them in when the temperature outside is the same as the temperature inside. So, so even when it starts cooling off towards the end of September, you have to wait till the middle of the day when it's about, again, 70 degrees Fahrenheit outside and it's 70 inside the house. That's perfect. Then you move it in. It doesn't really know anything's gone wrong. It's not suspicious.
Oh, I see.
And put it right in front of a nice sunny window where it can get some light,
One other question is, you said I can trim it back. Everything I've been reading, I'm not supposed to do it till spring, so I'm not going to hurt it by cutting. I mean, like I say, it's 4 feet high.
Yeah.
And I've got about 3 feet that should come off, so it won't harm it then.
No, they'll stay alive. Just try to keep some green leaves on it.
Okay.
And right now, like I say, you probably don't have a lot of time left to enjoy it, so maybe just enjoy it for maybe one more week and watch those temperatures, watch it at night.
Go down to 20 or so.
Yeah, and then once, it's okay at night if it gets a bit cooler, but the key is when you move it in, that your outside's the same as the inside. Yeah. You can do the trim. You might trim it, say, a couple days before you're going to move it, so it doesn't go into too much shock. Give it a quick spray. Make sure that the roots are sort of leached out a bit, so there's no salts built up in the soil. And then just let it grow outside for a couple days, and then when the time is right and there's somebody there to help move it, and then
you got that right.
Then get it into place, and it should be good to go.
Okay. I've been spraying it relentlessly all summer, about every 10 days with a neem oil. Okay. And I've been lucky to keep the aphis off and the spider mites, so it's been good that way. Yeah. Now, with this neem oil, since I mentioned that, does that have an expiring date on it? I keep it in the fridge. It's the organic neem oil. Will it be good next year, or should I huck it and get new stuff? Well,
that's a good question. That's something you're going to have to research, and maybe if there is a number, sometimes there's a number on the container.
Yeah, I looked all over. I can't see a thing. So,
look it up online, because there should be a website or something to go to.
I've only got about a quarter of a bottle left, so it wouldn't hurt anyway. Now, one more thing. My geraniums, again, they have gone crazy. Yeah. When I go to bring them in for the winter, can I cut them down and have the branches or whatever, the stems, only about 4 inches, get rid of all that green stuff, and just bring in the plant with the roots attached and put it into storage? Yeah.
Are they in containers right now?
No, they're in the ground.
In the ground, yeah. So, that's exactly what you should do. Okay. Is generally I cut them down to about 8 inches.
Oh, 8.
And I leave a little bit extra stemage on there. And then what I do is I clean off all the dead stuff and then pull them out and even wash the soil off the roots a bit.
Right.
And then I'll usually put them into, like, what I like to do is I like to take just a pot, like any pot that I have, say a 10-inch diameter pot, put some potting soil in there, and then I'll have like six or so of these geraniums that I've cut back and cleaned up, and I put them all into that one pot, and then keep them just very light watering, just so there's humidity around the roots, and then bring them into the house at first, and then after a little while, let them root a little bit, and then you can put them in the storage.
Yeah, I've been pretty good. I've done it for a couple of years now, and put them in cardboard boxes upside down, but I just... In the spring, there's so much mess from the leaves and stuff that have died over the winter, so I thought, well, maybe this year I'll take all that off and just keep the stubs.
Yep, that sounds like you're on the right.
About 8 inches, you figure?
Yeah, because the stems, the stems are holding sugars that are going to keep the plant alive. So
Okay, well, that'll give me a bit more room along with this hibiscus.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for your information.
Okay, thanks for calling, Lee.
Yeah, have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
There you go. And we have Rob on the line. Good morning, Rob.
No. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Do you have a question today?
A beautiful day. Yes, I do. I've got a beech nut tree.
Yeah.
It's about, I would say 25, 30. It's a big tree.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, the leaves about 2 weeks ago started to fall off.
Oh.
Yeah, and they're coming down. They're rolled up and they're brittle. And we've been here 24 years. So I live up in South Mission in Kelowna here.
Oh, okay.
And never had a problem at all. This is the first year it's ever happened.
Oh, okay.
And I can't see any bugs on it or anything. I've been looking.
It is a bit of a symptom of a couple things. So what it typically is, and it's not 100%, but this is what is very common. And you say it's about 25 years old?
Well, I would say 20, maybe a little longer. We moved in, it was small. Now it's a bigger tree. So I would say 25 to 27, 8 years. Something like that, yeah.
Okay. So what happens with all trees, and it's not just this particular tree, but all trees, is that at some point, when they're first purchased, they come in either in a container, like in a pot, or they come as a ball and burlap, which is one of the best options you can get. The other option is sometimes not very commonly anymore, but sometimes they're available bare root, where you can just buy the tree early in the spring. It has no soil on it at all, and you get these really normal shaped root systems. So that's the ideal thing, is a normal shaped root system. So if it's bare root, it's going to be normal. If it's in a ball and burlap, it's going to be pretty normal. Like the tips will be cut off, but it still radiates away from the trunk. But if we have a tree that has been grown in a pot for a couple of years, which is fairly common, there's nothing really wrong with that. But when it's taken out, there's a special treatment that has to be done, and that is that the roots need to be pruned and cut in order to get these roots again radiating outwards away from the trunk and not spiraling around. So it's a very common problem where we see these roots start to girdle the tree as the tree gets older. And it generally takes about anywhere from not much earlier than, say, 18 years old, but up to about 30 years old, you can see these symptoms show up. And the symptoms are where it's just fairly general over the tree, and you may get this premature fall color kicking in sometimes. That's kind of the first sign. And then you'll start to get this sort of premature defoliation where the leaves might fall and they're already kind of a little bit crispy rather than turning fall colors.
Yeah, and that's what they are. They're crispy kind of.
Yeah, and then they say that, this year they're starting in September. Next year they start in middle of August, and then the next year they're starting in earlier August, and you're starting to see this thing getting worse and worse and worse. And so what you can do to find out if this is the issue is what you do is you actually pull all the soil away from the base of the tree, and you have to open it up, and you're looking for the surface roots. So you start digging around, opening it up, and then once you get it all opened up, you get a garden hose with a good hard spray of water, and you wash the roots off so you can see what they look like. And sometimes you have to wash it, and then it kind of gets flooded and it's muddy, so you let it sit overnight, and you come back the next day and you do it again. And you keep exposing these roots. And through this process of exposing them, you start to be able to see what's going on. And you may just see roots that instead of growing away from the trunk, they're actually growing around the trunk. Oh. And that's girdled roots. And that's where you know, then all of a sudden you go, aha, that is the problem. Okay, so if you don't see that and you see perfect roots going outwards in all directions, but nothing else really stands out, well, then you can look and go, well, maybe it's a disease of some sort. So diseases may come and go, and it might be bad one year and not so bad another year. So there may not be anything you can do about it, but at least, there's more sort of hope.
This tree is probably 2-foot diameter, too. It's a big tree.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So that's what you want to do is you want to check for that girdling roots. Okay. And if you do have girdling roots, then what you can do is you can send me an email, and I can describe to you the some of the steps you can take towards bringing that tree back, or if there's a possibility of it. And what people would normally do, they would get it all cleared out, and they'd get it all washed, and so you can see what's going on, then take some pictures of that, and then send that to me on an email to ken@growercoach.com, and that would definitely, give you a good direction to head in.
So it sounds like you're going to make me work the next couple of days.
Yeah, you're going to have a sore back, so you might want to invest in some painkillers.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
All right.
So the tree ultimately probably won't die. It's just that's my concern. That's all.
Well, if it's got girdled roots, it's on its way out.
Oh, there you go.
But it takes about 5 or 7 years for it to die. Like a tree like that should have a 200-year life expectancy or more.
Oh, yeah.
And so if it's only 27 years old, it's still a baby sort of thing. It's still young. Yeah. And so it should be vigorous and healthy and doing its thing.
No, it has been every year. This is just the first year. It's been a beautiful tree.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're on top of it. You saw something going on. You're finding out about it. Let's learn about more about it, and let's get on to something, because it might be just as simple as cutting one root out and you'd be good to go.
Well, that's what I'll do. I'll try it and see what we can do. And if I have any problems, I'll email you and give you some pictures and stuff.
Yeah, perfect. And remember that when you do root pruning like that, like if you have to cut out a root, you got to do it in the fall. Yeah. So we're heading the right timing.
We're heading the right direction.
You betcha.
There you go.
Awesome. Okay.
So thank you very much. You have a great day.
You too. Thanks, Rob. Take care. Yeah. Bye-bye. All righty, and we have Sharon on the line from Victoria. Hello, Sharon.
Good morning, Ken.
Good morning.
First time planting black-eyed Susans. They're still from the nursery, and I haven't planted them yet because you said I had to weed first.
Yeah.
If I was to plant them now, because do I have to cut them back or anything? Because they grow every year, don't they? The perennials?
Yeah, they are. If they're the variety like Rebecca Goldstern.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah, that one is fully perennial, and it's going to be great. So if that's the one, you're not going to have any issues with that. You can plant them right now, and they'll come through beautiful and bloom all summer next year.
They're still in bloom now, so do I have to cut them back or anything?
I would just enjoy them. Just keep on letting them do their thing until winter hits.
Oh, and then what happens?
Well, then you can go out and cut them off.
Okay, or will they die back by themselves?
Yeah, they will, but they'll still be sticking up. Now, with Goldstern particularly, is it gets these little black seed heads all over it.
Okay.
And I actually like the look of those, and I like the look of them poking out of the snow, which we get probably more snow here than you do. So I don't mind leaving those because I still find it something interesting to look at.
But it's probably good for the birds too, right?
Oh, sure.
Do they eat them?
Insects, all kinds of things. Leaving nature to do its thing sort of close to it is best.
I'm the lazy gardener. Okay.
Me too.
The other thing, we don't water our lawns here because it's very drought down. It's drought season.
Yeah.
12 months of the year, kind of like. So if I was to fertilize my lawn once a year, would you recommend spring, summer? Well, definitely not summer. Fall?
Yeah, it's always in spring and early summer are key. And the reason is you want to thicken it up so that it can survive the drought of summer. And it's the actual plant itself becomes a shade, and it stops the air movement near the ground, and it helps to hold the moisture in the ground. So it acts like its own mulch. It's a living mulch. So it's advantageous for the grass to be nice and thick for the summer. Once you're into the late summer and fall, I worry less about it, and the temperatures cool off, and the grass grows pretty nice in the fall anyway, without much care.
Okay. So what's the best time in the spring, like March or?
I generally around the end of March is good timing for your first fertilization. Then I do them about, say it once at the end of March, and then once at the beginning of May, and then one more time I do around middle of June, and then that's it pretty much. But I know there are people that will feed once a month religiously, and it's fabulous. I mean, the grass is a heavy feeder. It doesn't mind you feeding it. It's happy.
Well, I was only going to feed it once in
the
12
whole
months.
year.
So would March be the best then?
I think you're probably better to go for beginning of May.
Oh, May?
Yeah,
but
end of April
rain.
for you, and end of you got to break the sprinkler out. You got to water in your fertilizer anyway.
Right.
When you put fertilizer down, you got to wash it in. Once it's washed in, it's fine.
I was counting on the rain. And what composition or number should it be for spring fertilizer?
It doesn't matter that much in the springtime. You can use just about anything. In the summertime, you're definitely moving to higher nitrogen products. In the spring, it can be just about anything. Like we usually start the year out, in April. In this climate, but we run 18-18-18 for a spring startup, and then once the next fertilization would be more like a 34-5-8 or something like that, something with a high first number.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much, Ken.
Yeah, no problem.
And I'll continue listening as always.
Awesome. Okay, Sharon.
Great show always. Okay,
alrighty.
thanks a lot.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Alrighty, do we have time for one more? Yeah. Yeah, we'll see if we can squeeze one more in here before we just take a commercial break. We've got Pierce on the line. Morning, Pierce.
Good morning, Ken. I have a quick question for you. It's a lawn question, too, about my back lawn.
Okay.
My back lawn is a quilt work right now of green clover and dead grass.
Right.
Patches of green clover and the rest is dead grass.
Yep.
And I have been watering it reasonably well, but it's just not able to keep up with the heat.
Yeah.
What's the best thing for me to do is now? Do I just leave it until the grass comes back, or should I do something else?
No, I think you're right on that. The grass will come back once the temperatures drop a little bit more here, but feel free to do an overseeding if you can. Just grab a bag of lawn seed and give it a spritz of new seed over the whole thing, and that's always beneficial to do that once or twice, or say at least once a year, to do an overseeding, and then that gives you some new species. Some of the new ones are more drought tolerant too.
And do I need to put a little more fresh soil on top of it as well, or just put the seed down on what's there and water it in?
You definitely want to. What I do is I would apply the seed over the surface, and then I would take a leaf rake and kind of scratch it in a bit. So it's under, mixed in with the surface.
Good time now to do that with the lawn seed, would it?
Oh yeah, and then I'd give it light waterings, like right in the middle of the day when it's the hottest.
Yeah.
Just give it a light watering, a couple, maybe once or twice a day at that time. And when you combine the moisture with the heat, you get really good germination.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
No problem. Okay, Pierce.
Have
take
a good
care.
day.
Yep. You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye. Alrighty. So. I just have to read this little note here and see what it says. And it looks like, okay. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so we're going to take a break. And we'll be back right after these messages with more of The Garden Show. Alrighty, we are back, and thanks for hanging in there over those ads. We kind of missed one of our commercial breaks, so anyway, we're catching up a little bit. Alrighty, we have Diane on the line. Good morning, Diane. How are you?
Good, thank you very much, Ken.
Good.
I just have a couple of potted plants that are outside, so patio plants, and I've never had a calla lily before. It's been beautiful, but it's very interesting. Where the flowers were now, it looks like little pine cones inside a leaf.
Yeah.
can I take those off? Are those seeds that I can plant? Or I don't know. I've never seen this before.
Well, they will likely form seeds inside. So it's not impossible. It's not a common thing, and I haven't tried it myself, but I have had a lot of those little seed pods forming.
Yeah.
So what I do normally is I would do a deadheading process, which is where I'd follow down like right where those seed heads are, because that's what they are, is little seed pods. You'd follow down to where right below the seed pods it sort of joins into the main stem. And that's the exact point where you cut it off and you just remove it, because what it's doing is it's trying to say, okay, I'm done for the season, I'm producing seed. But you snip that out and it goes, oh, I got to produce some seeds because my seeds are gone, so it blooms again. So it's one of these deadheading things that really keeps them flowering. And so, but the key is not to cut the main stem, because that's where the blooms are going to come. But you just follow down where those little seeds are, the little seed pods, and then right below the last one, you can cut it right there and snip it out.
Because it's got a long stem, and then this seed pod is like it's wrapped. A leaf is actually wrapped around this little pine cone-looking thing.
And the leaf, that's often where the next flower shoot will come. So, like I say, I get pretty exact on those. I get right down and I pull that little leaf back and try to find just below the bottom seed pod and just snip that seed pod out.
So literally take the leaf that's wrapped around the pod off?
No, I would just pull it back so I can see the stem, and I just want to cut just the stem. It's
really tightly wrapped around the seed pod.
Yeah, and it may be, but you can pull it apart a little bit. But yeah, that's what I would do, is just because there's often a new flower bud just sitting there, and it doesn't look like much, but it'll be there, it'll be dormant, and as soon as you snip that pod out, it'll just go, oh, time to grow, and it'll shoot up a pod.
Yeah, I'm just thinking when I go, like it's wrapped so tightly that I'm going to actually break that protective wrap around the pod.
Well,
okay, I will try that.
Yeah.
The other is I had purchased a very beautiful pink hydrangea. It's a patio hydrangea.
Okay.
It's been lovely. It's growing like crazy. It's very healthy. The actual flower has turned green.
Okay.
So do I snip that flower off?
No, I keep them. The thing with hydrangeas that's kind of interesting is that the flower itself isn't actually a flower. It's actually modified leaves.
Okay.
And so they're called bracts. You know, like on a poinsettia, the red parts are bracts. And then right in the middle, the little tiny flower, those are the flowers in the middle of that whole thing. So they're colored leaves that are made to sort of simulate flowers. And it's the same with the hydrangea. So these white things or pink colored things, they're actually little leaves, and in the center is the flower. So what happens is after they do their color thing, then they quickly will change to a green color and turn back into sort of leaves again. And so depending where you're located, if you're in the Kelowna area, which I believe you are,
I am.
Then what happens is that there isn't going to be really anything you need to do with that. You actually just keep that thing going, and you still have like a flower to look at. It's going to be green. It's going to go into the fall. It'll even turn brown after a while, and it's still interesting to look at. So I just say, well, hey, as long as there's something interesting going on, I'm all in. Keep it going as long as possible, and then when it's time, say if it's getting late in the season, then you can just snip just the flower heads, just the heads themselves off, and keep those upright stems. And ideally, it sounds like it's really good. See, now if I was in the Victoria area, I would probably consider maybe removing a few of those green ones and allowing another flush where they might actually make room for a few more blooms. But their season there is much longer, and so they would have time for it. But I'm preserving them here in the Okanagan because you're probably not going to get any more blooms after this.
No, I don't imagine. Now, it's in a pot. Can I overwinter it in the garage or something? Because it's not in the ground.
You could. I would leave it outside as long as possible. Is the garage partially heated, or?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So what you would do is leave it outside as long as you can so that it gets really dormant, so it gets some cool temperatures, even a bit of frost, and you want the leaves to fall off outside. Snip off the blooms and then move it in to the garage.
What if I planted it in the ground, like?
It has good odds of surviving planted. Some people put the whole pot in the ground because they want to dig it up next year. But you could plant it as a garden plant. The only thing is some of these varieties, the patio types, are maybe not quite as winter hardy as other ones, and so they perform really nice, but they just sometimes just freeze to the ground. And if they even survive, then they don't do well in this climate. But
so
again,
with a patio hydrangea, am I better to bring it in and bring it out again next spring, or?
Yeah, that's what I would do, and just make sure that it just has just reasonable moisture over the winter. So check it every once in a while, and just make sure it's not totally bone dry, but make sure it's also not too soggy wet. Right. So if you go and check it maybe once every couple of weeks, and it's got moisture, then don't water it. It's still good, But if it starts to dry out, then just give it a little bit, and
then in the spring just trim it right back, or
well, it won't be growing much over the winter. It'll just be exactly how you
but in the spring when I go to bring it back out,
don't trim it. No, you water. What you're trying to do is keep those stems that are above the pot. You want to keep those alive all winter.
Right.
And that's when you know you have perfect success, is if it looks sort of similar when it comes out as when it went in, and then hopefully you don't get any hard frost in the springtime. So what I do is breaking them back into reality, I call it. That's where I set them out, like say if I'm getting in this climate in the Okanagan, to be probably in early April or end of March, I might set it outside in the day. And let it get a little bit of the reality, and then sneak it back in at night so it doesn't get zapped by the frost. Right. And then, by the time you get to May, it'll be hardened off enough that you can just leave it outside and good to go for another year.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Dan.
Okay, have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah,
bye-bye. Yeah, there you go. There's a trick for everything, and each plant has its pros and cons and things you have to watch for. And the hydrangea group is a bit complicated. Well, it's very complicated, I guess, because there's so many different species. And so one of these things you should always do a little bit of research. And some of the flowering ones that you purchase in containers or for patios, at least for us here in the Okanagan, we can try and plant them out, and you may have success, but the odds are probably not good. But if you're in the Victoria area or coastal regions, anywhere where it's a little bit more mild, like Zone 7 or warmer, you'd probably have great success with it, and it would be fine. So there you go. It's a difference between the climates, and something we definitely have to watch for. Yeah, so I'm glad that everybody's enjoying the show today. We've had some wonderful comments. Very, very nice. And I do. Again, I want to mention about the Abkhazia Gardens. They're having their big plant sale tomorrow. So it's something we definitely would love to have you stop out and check it out. And the plant sale is something that they do each fall. It's their fall plant sale, and it's a fundraiser. It helps to keep things rolling there. And they're at 1964 Fairfield Road in Victoria. And so feel free to check that out. If you want to give them a call to find out any more information about it, I can give you their phone number. You might want to write that down. It's 250-479-8053. So 250-479-8053. And you can learn a little bit more about that and participate. They always have cool plants for sale. It's just such a beautiful place. Plus, you get to spend hours and hours enjoying the garden. So beautiful this time of year. Alrighty, so just back to our gardening topics of the day. I had a few there that I wanted to touch on, and I did touch on the weevils, and I'm going to be doing a video on that. So again, people who follow me on YouTube, you'll want to stay tuned for that. I'm going to see if I can get that done this weekend. And generally, if I try to get the videos to come up each weekend, sometimes it takes me a couple days to process them so that I get them all ready to go and up online. And yes, I'm going to keep using I'm going to remember to use my microphones. I have this tendency to just do things spontaneously, And I forget to put my microphone on, and it's never quite loud enough. So, yes, I'm aware of that, and I'm working on it. It's like everything. It's a work in progress, getting better. Not as good as I'm going to be, but a whole lot better than I used to be. There you go. But some of the topics we talked about were the onions. We talked about seeding onions and trying to preserve or actually take seeds that you've grown this year and get them planted right away. And you should be able to get a small onion crop going and hopefully have a late enough fall to get them to actually grow and establish before winter, and then they'll come through beautifully. You can also mulch them a little bit so they're protected for the winter. We talked a little bit about the weevils, which was great, and I talked about the baits that were available as well as nematodes that you could apply. Again, I'm going to do a video on that. Also, I wanted to talk about deer and the pain that deer can be at this time of year, is they're in rutting season right now. So that means that they're getting excited and they want to show off. The bucks need to show off for all the chicks out there. So they just pick on a young tree. They'll go over and rasp those trees with their antlers, and it's very disappointing. You know, if sometimes you're picking deer-resistant plants so that the deer don't eat them, and then you plant a tree and you forget to put fencing on it. You have to put some sort of fencing around a young tree because the deer are looking for these small trees, anything from like a half an inch up to even 2 inches. They'll pick on these trees and just rasp them up with their antlers, and they're doing it right now. So this is the time, if you've got a new tree you've planted, you're going to want to get some fencing at least about 4 or 5 feet high. That 5-foot mark is sort of that ideal location. So if I get a short piece of fencing, and it's only 3 feet high or 4 feet high, and I think, it's got to be higher, I just slide it up the tree a bit and suspend it with string so that it's right in the zone where these deer want to attack, and it definitely deters them. So, and then you just leave it on for a couple of years, particularly during rutting season, which is end of August, last week of August through until usually into October. So you definitely want to pay attention to that, and that's a good tip for today. So we're going to take another short break here, and we'll be back right after these messages with more Garden Show. Welcome back. We have callers on the line. We're going to go back to the phone lines. We have Trudy on the line. Good morning, Trudy.
Good morning. I did grub be gone 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Should I do it again before winter?
I would. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would do it about now, because that 3 week, like anything that you missed or anything that's, no longer active, you'll want to get a fresh application on there.
Okay, sure. And that'll help for the spring type thing?
Yeah, and like I was talking specifically about weevils, but it does work on all kinds of grubs, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing to use. But I would do, like a lot of the grubs that overwinter, they're eating the roots of the plants over the winter. That's how they survive the winter, is underground where they're protected from frost and they have all this delicious food. So what we do is we hit them in the fall, and then we let them go through winter, and then we hit them in the spring again when they start getting active. And that really gives the plants a good shot at not having grubs in their roots when they're starting to grow in the spring.
Right. Because I did it, like you say, just 3 weeks ago, and I can see an improvement already. Mm-hmm. And then I thought, well, I'll bet you they're going to come back.
Oh yeah, it's one of these things, because like I made the mistake. I'm just trying to recall my situation, but my peonies, I have 2 beautiful peonies, and they just have been all the edges of the leaves have these little notches all over, and that's the adult weevil. And then you're just thinking, oh boy, I got to get that on there, and then time goes by and you don't do it in time. So I'm on it too. So
okay, I'll go get me another bag.
There you go. Me too.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks, Trudy.
Yeah,
take
bye
care.
now.
Bye-bye. Yeah, those pesky weevils. They are a difficult little bug to control. The weevils, the adult form, there's only females of the species. There's no males. They don't need them anymore. And they asexually produce eggs and that they can lay at the base of the plant. And then those eggs hatch, become grubs. The grubs will get in usually around the end of August or early September, and they will burrow into the ground, eat the roots of the plants, and of course they're very tiny in the fall, so they're really easy to kill, and they aren't really causing too much damage in the fall. But what happens is over winter they get bigger and fatter and bigger and fatter, and by springtime your plants are in really rough shape. So definitely do an application this fall and then do another application in the spring. Again, the two products that I mentioned, one was Grub Begone and the other one was Grub Busters. And Grub Buster is a nematode, which is a living organism. And if you're going to put on, and I would say it's not even a bad idea to try both if you have a bad situation. But what I would do in that case is I would start with the earlier application with the nematodes. So the Grub Buster would go on first around the end of August, last week of August. And then I would wait just exactly as Trudy has, about a couple of weeks, and then apply the Grub Begone, which is just an alternate product, more based on BT, which is a bacteria, which works really good. All right, now we're going back to the phone lines. We have Bruce on the line. Good morning, Bruce.
Good morning, Ken. Yeah. I got up this morning and I looked at my wife's African violets, and they're covered with, I think it's whitefly. I don't know what to do with it.
So whitefly, just tell me what your symptoms are.
There's little white specks all over the African violet.
And when you brush them lightly, they fly around?
No, just a minute. I don't know whether they fly around or not.
Yeah, well, that's how you know they're white flies, because if you just go brush them a little bit and you get these tiny little white guys, and they'll just kind of flutter around somewhere nearby. And they're really hard to see, actually. They're quite a tiny little white fly, but they are...
No, they don't fly around.
Okay, well, it's probably not a white fly then. So, what we need to do? Are they different sizes, or some a little bit fatter and some a little bit tinier?
No, they're all about the same size. They're all little. It's funny. The whole planter is just full of it.
Okay, so likely what you're seeing is aphids. Aphid skins. So aphids, which are a common pest on a lot of different types of houseplants and that sort of thing, they're very common, and they'll live on the plant. And then you don't really notice them until the populations get a little bit higher. And what their tendency is they'll drop their they shed their skin in order to grow to a new size.
Oh.
And when they drop their skin, they get these little white flecks, and it's like dandruff almost all over the plant.
Yeah,
and if you looked with a magnifying glass, you'd see this like a skin of a little insect sitting there. And then if you scope around really carefully, you'd see the little green guys that are black, whatever color they are, and those are the living ones, and the skins are what you're noticing. And it's funny that the adults are very camouflaged, so they're hard to see, but they give it away by dropping their little white skins all over the place. And then if that's the case, then you might have to pick up a little spray of some sort, maybe just what they call ready-to-use product from your local garden center. And
would Schaefer's 3-in-1 do it?
Yeah, it probably would. I would just check the label and see if it says aphids. And then with African violets, they're sometimes a little bit sensitive to some sprays, but I always take them outside, and then I can give them a really good spray on the main stems and underneath the leaves to make sure I'm thoroughly coating it, and then put it in a shady spot just to air out outside a little bit and dry up. And then once they're all nice and dry, then you can bring it back in the house.
Yeah, I was worried about it because African violets are pretty sensitive and I didn't want to kill them.
Oh, yeah, they have their sensitivities, but, they're also sensitive to aphids. So
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you.
Okay, Bruce. Well, thanks for calling.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, bye for now. Yeah, that's one of those things that happens for sure with the with a lot of houseplants, and with African violets. They, it's funny, indoors to get good blooming out of them, you have to keep them in a very bright window, and they really like that sort of bright indirect light. But a little bit of direct light's not too bad for them. But the thing with the aphids is that you might have a couple on there for months and months and months, and then all of a sudden the conditions just get right. and it always has to do with temperature. This temperature's just hit this perfect temperature condition, and all of a sudden their populations explode, and that's when you start to see it. And sometimes you'll see that stickiness as well that shows up, which is like a sugary substance, which is their excrement, is part of the process, and that can be washed off. It's just sugar, so it's easily rinsed off. But again, watch your African violets. They're a little bit sensitive, but you know what? You got to get rid of those guys and get going. Get back on track, as they say. Alrighty, well, it's been a very successful show today. Very, very fun. A lot of great gardening questions today and some really good topics. So, as we do every week, and I just wanted to reiterate that we are on year-round on this channel every Saturday. And remember, if in your community, if for whatever reason, if it doesn't go on or doesn't show up on your radio station, you can always just pick it up online. You go to iHeartRadio, and you'll usually see some information. And the way that works is that once you click on to go in to listen, it says listen now. And you listen, and it's actually listening to whatever radio show is on right there at that moment. So if it's a different show that's on, that's what you're going to be hearing. So you have to pick it up when the show is on, which is always Saturday mornings at approximately 8:03 a.m. Pacific time. And you can pick up the show and listen in, and you can pick that up anywhere online. All right, we're going to do the tips and plants of the week. And my tip of the week this week is that it's that time of year that if you want to get your Christmas cactus up and blooming, it needs to have some cool evenings. And so best thing is, what I do is I just take it from inside around the end of August or early September, take it out, and I put it in a nice shady spot outside where it can just experience a nice warm days and then this really cooling atmosphere that happens at night, and that just seems to set them up. And then when I bring it in around the end of September or so, it's just a few weeks, and the thing bursts into bloom about mid-October through to about mid-November, and sometimes they just keep on blooming if they're super happy. So that's a good tip for your Christmas cactus. Now, my plant of the week this week is a Brugmansia, which is the angel's trumpet. And these beautiful plants are like a small tree or a large shrub that actually can be overwintered indoors over the winter time and put out in the spring and summer and grown out on the patio. But they have these huge trumpet flowers up to sometimes 14, 16 inches long sometimes. And man, are they fragrant. About 7 p.m. every night, they're good to go and super fragrant. All right, that's my tips and plans for this week. Remember to check growercoach.com, Grower Coach on YouTube, and thank you so much for tuning in today. It's been a lot of fun, and we'll see you again next week.